Hello. Ooh. Mmm. Oh my goodness, as soon as I start talking, I gotta clear my throat. Hello YouTube, this is Problematic Boy. It's been a while since I made a video or a Torchlight video. I've sort of finished with the season in Torchlight Infinite. Season 2 was a lot of fun. I really liked it. And now we're sort of in a a phase where we've been playing different games. I only play ARPG, so there's a certain game that is in its last season before Diablo 4 comes out. It's not the last season, but the last season before Diablo 4 comes out. At least that's my assumption. Is that it's Diablo 3. So I want to take a moment to talk about Diablo 3. Before that, I want to say for Torchlight, I do have I made notes on a starter charge calling Moto guide. So I am making a starter charge calling Moto guide for Season 3, assuming that it doesn't get ultra giga nerfed, which I don't think it will. And I have the notes for it. I already play tested it to T7s. I'm going to make a T8 part of the guide, but it's a starter guide aimed at really newer players to get them into T7 as easily as possible, and farming T7 as easily as possible as a league starter. So just a little tease. I was able to get no twink gear, nothing like that. Just what was in my inventory in a complete raw start. Two T7 maps on Charge Kalimoto in about 6 hours. Very casual pace, not going hard, not doing anything like that. So I think it's very good. And just picking up ground gear. So that is going to be coming. I'm going to record that video and, make it a little later towards when the season's about to come out. But now let's talk about D3. And I wanted to make this video. I don't know. I sort of had the inspiration for this video in my head. This obviously isn't going to be a guide. You know where to find the D3 stuff. Big D3 resource and all that stuff. It's not like a build guide or like any normal video. It's just going to be me talking. And this is the last. Today, this day that I'm recording this, Last Epoch multiplayer is going to come out, so I'm probably going to be playing that, which means that all the time I spent grinding D3 for a week is I'm probably not going to be playing very much D3 after I'm playing Last Epoch, and then the D4 beta is going to happen, and then what am I going to do after that? So maybe I'll play more D3, I don't know, or I might be playing more Last Epoch after that. I don't know, but I want to talk a little bit about D3, the problems with D3, and what I actually ended up liking about D3. Now, I have never gone as hard in a D3 season as this season, and I haven't even gone that hard. I'm almost 1300 Paragon here, but previously I have only played about 2 D3 seasons. I'm not a big D3 player. I mostly played a lot of PoE. Obviously, I play Torchlight. But I have played a lot of Path of Exile, and so I haven't played much D3. And I'll say some of the reasons why I ended up pouring I don't know how many hours into this freaking game over this last season. For starters, I'll talk about the season mechanic a little bit. It's actually pretty interesting. You get a lot of power from it. The grind isn't that bad. There's one part that's a little grindy, but that's it. Doing the whole thing is really not hard. It's definitely not hard. There's part of it that's a little grindy. The last part is a little grindy, but it's fine. And then you get a lot of interesting buffs, lots of quality of life from this altar that I feel like if you didn't have the quality of life, the game would feel so bad. And it's stuff like your pet picks up and automatically salvages stuff, and your pet will pick up some crafting materials and stuff like that. So it's very good. Just having that in the game makes it feel great. I don't know how it would feel without it. Obviously, I don't want to know. So that's one thing that I like about it, is that the season mechanic makes the game a lot better to play. What else am I liking about D3? Now, here's the strong point of D3, I think, is the gameplay and the variedness of the gameplay. So, depending on what set you put on, what Legacy of Dreams, which is the all legendary setup you put on, the builds do play very differently, and they some of them excel in different areas. Some builds are good for like pushing, which I'll talk about a little bit. Some of them are good at going fast. Some of them are good at getting keys. Some of them are just good at going for lower GRs. And yeah, I think that there's, at least in the gameplay, not just what the builds are for, but like how they play is a very strong point of D3. Now that's a very big strong point because it's basically that's just like kept me in the game. I've made so many different builds. I've tried out so many different things because I haven't really before in all the previous D3 seasons. So I'm kind of like doing it all now, and yeah, I think it's very good. I think it's a very good thing. Now, it's such a good thing that it's really the thing I like most about D3. Is basically that how diverse it feels to play the different builds. Now, what I'm going to talk about the things I don't like. There's more things I don't like than do like, but I think that the weighting of them is about equal, and it's not enough that it's not bad enough that I was like, oh, I'm going to stop playing the game, or I'm going to stop grinding. But there are problems that I'm aware of, and I think a lot of other people are aware of, and that's with the gearing in D3. The actual specific gearing, not necessarily the gameplay. Obviously, there's a tie-in because the different sets are what's enabling that gameplay. But the actual process of acquiring the gear and then going about getting better gear is not very good in D3. It's okay, let me explain. To get the core pieces of your build is extremely easy in D3. You get the core pieces of your build, you get your set, you get these other things that you need, just regular. You don't need ancients, you don't need primals, you just get it all together. It's so easy. And then you're playing the build, right? And you're playing the build, and that's the build. What are you doing then? What are you farming for? You're farming for the same items that you already have on, but with stat upgrades on them or better rolls that you can, sort of manipulate through the Enchantress to get better stats. That, in my mind, is not too interesting because there's no like rare item. I mean, Primal Ancients are rare, but they don't do anything different, if that makes any sense. There's no like unique items. I mean, you have the legendaries that have this stuff on them, but there's no like unique items that like, oh, I found this, it's super rare. It's like, no, it's rare because it's a primal ancient, but it does the same thing. It does the exact same thing, and it just plugs into your build, and it gives you slightly higher stats. It's really not that interesting. And what I'm worried about is I wanted to sort of talk about some things about D4 that I'm worried about, is that D4 kind of seems to have a similar system here, in that you can go to a crafter who will, like I think it's the blacksmith or whatever. I saw this on Wowhead, where he can upgrade the base stats of an item. So it's basically like making the item ancient, or making the item primal. They're probably not going to call it that. It's probably going to be like +1 or +2, or like fine or superior or rare, or whatever terminology they're going to use. But it's basically the same effect, right? The same effect is you're taking the same item, you're giving it better stats. The system in D4 of going to a crafter and doing it is even worse than the system in D3. It's better to actually find these things on the ground. As lame as it already is in D3, it's better to actually get the somewhat excitement of finding a primal, or the excitement of finding an ancient with good rolls on it or the right stats on it, than it is to go to a crafter, have crafting materials, click the item, and then bump it up. Okay, it's just not that. There's no point in having that in the game, is what I'm saying. Whereas opposed to a game like PoE or Torchlight, you actually have items that are the gearing is a bit more interesting because items can do more unique things is what I'm saying. Based on rarity, they can be more powerful. They can. I just think there's a better system there somewhere, and it's definitely not what is in D3. The gearing not that interesting. Gameplay very good, and also an issue that both Diablo games have. There's like an argument in the Diablo 3 chat at like the start of the season where they were like, "Oh, Diablo 2 has no end game." Blah blah blah. Diablo 3 has no end game. Okay, this there's not been a Diablo game with an end game, right? There's maybe I mean, even Torchlight Infinite doesn't have that much of an end game. I mean, it has more of an end game, I think, than I mean, yeah, it has more of an end game than freaking Diablo 3 or Diablo 2. But the real ARPGs that I think are like they have an end game, they have like boss farming, they have like different stuff you could do. It's probably PoE first off because it has the biggest legacy and it has the most varied end game content, and then probably Last Epoch coming up, and those games have end game. Diablo has never had endgame. And the thing about Diablo 4 is just a concern that I have is they're probably going to try to make an endgame. And I don't know how it's going to go because the only endgame in Diablo 3, if you want to call it that, I mean, I wouldn't call it that, is pushing up your GR, which can be satisfying for some people, but it's a very different style of gameplay, and that's basically all there is to do with your gear, right? All the uber bosses in this game you can kill without without any ancients. So without any ancient gear or any like even optimized gear, you just run in and kill them. So there's really not that kind of gameplay in Diablo 3. I mean, there's no end game, is what I'm trying to say. That doesn't mean that it's not fun, because there's tons of grinding you can do, and I think doing the speed farming is very fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy doing the speed builds. I don't enjoy pushing so much, but I mean it's there, and yeah. My worry about Diablo 4 is it's going to be the first Diablo game they're trying to put an end game in, and I think they should copy PoE probably, and probably copy some maybe what Last Epoch is doing or Torchlight, but they're probably copying Lost Ark, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. So that was just one of the things, just things I like about D3 that are making me concerned about D4. So, or I honestly am concerned about D4. Let me finish the video with my thoughts on D4. I hope that it is good. I expect it to not be good. I don't really have a whole lot of faith. My expectations are super low, but I hope that it is good. I hope it's great. I hope it's the best ARPG ever. I hope that I play it all the time, or want to play it all the time and enjoy my time playing it. But I expect that it will not be. But yep, that's the video. Kind of a rambly video, just a rambly, talky video. But we have those sometimes here on the channel. So this has been Problematic Boy. Thanks. Bye.